Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Susanne, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or sip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Point to Rise podcast. My name is Susanne and I am your host today. Today's guest, it is such a glorious day for me to announce that Salisha Thomas is on the show today. So Salisha and I really only ran into each other because of my friend Rachel and business partner Rachel Josefina, which I'm doing the New York City networking events with for performing artists. So Salisha is a force to be reckoned with. I was taken by her spirit, by her ability to speak her mind, and let me introduce her a little bit more properly. So Salisha Thomas is Broadway star and a former Miss California. She was most recently in rehearsal for Once Upon a One More Time, the new Britney Spears musical. She was previously seen in Beautiful, the Carole King musical on Broadway, and on tour. Some regional credits include Trevor The Musical, Once on This Island, Dream Girl, and. She is the host of Black Hair in the Big League on the Broadway Podcast Network, where she has sat down with stars from every major show on Broadway, and most recently has created the Salisha Show. You can watch the Salisha Show via YouTube or stream both podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and every other platform where you can stream podcasts on. For more information, Salisha also has a blog that you can read. You can find her on her website under salisha.com or follow her on Instagram. As always, we have everything in the show notes. And please let me correct, it is not salisha.com, it is salishathomas.com, which also is her Instagram handle. So without any further ado, let me dive right into this beautiful conversation with this beautiful soul.
Got it.
So let me introduce Beth. She is the one that always records us. I had to name her because I find it so hard when I push recording. Hello, and I'm on stage, and here we are, and welcome to the show. So I need that little bit of my editor is really great in taking that out. That awkward moment, when you step onto the stage and you peek around and you see.
Right. She's so loud, right?
Right. That one. Exactly. Well, officially, welcome to the show. I am so grateful that you're here. You booked like from yesterday to today. I opened my calendar. I'm like, oh, there she is. I'm like, yes, I can't wait to have that conversation with you.
Awesome.
So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I love talking to you and Rachel the last time.
Oh, well, right back at you, my darling.
It was fun. It was so fun.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I did a little intro. And that was, what you have achieved so far in your life. But it wasn't about who you are as a person and who you have become over the years in all of these years on earth. And I have learned that recently, not that I didn't know, but I never incorporated actually in conversations that we're not our titles. It's not us. It's an achievement. Yeah. And it's great. And we worked hard for it. But who did we become on that journey? And I find that more interesting. I find that more relatable. I find that is more to point out than
Right.
anything else. So if you can give us a little bit of a like 30,000 foot approach, and who's Salisha? Like, why is she doing what she's doing? And how did she get there?
I am glad that you started with that, because I would say before this pandemic, I'm not sure if I would have like actively and genuinely agreed. I would have been like, no, I'm a Broadway actress. And yes, I'm an actress. Like, it took me so long to be able to say those words, that I'm an actress, and not like laugh at myself and like actually believe it. And because I feel like a lot of times being an actress, it's like, oh, well, I'm really waiting tables. Am I really an actress? It's like there's so much unemployment that it feels like, am I really doing this? And so when you finally have that like belief enough in yourself that you're like, yes, I am doing this, I'm an actress, there's a lot of pride in that. And when the pandemic happened, Broadway shut down, and I felt like all of those things, like, I found that I had tied my identity into that. And well, who am I without a show? Am I still the Broadway actress if I've not worked for a year? Am I still the Broadway actress if I haven't worked in a year and a half? Like, what? And so tying like what you were saying, like tying your identity into your titles, gosh, well, who are you when those titles are stripped, right? And so 30,000 foot approach, who am I? I will say that oh, I haven't actually answered this question in a long time. I love to have fun. I love people. I appear to be an extrovert, but I think I might be an introvert, because what is the word? When you recharge, I recharge by myself. I enjoy one-on-one conversations, not like a group of people. That is so like nerve-wracking and draining. And when I'm in a group of people, I'm like, I talk like, and yeah, and yeah, and yeah, and I'm like, I'm tired.
Oh, wow. It is tiring. Yes, you're allowed to be.
It's tiring. I've done some shows. I'm getting ready to go back into rehearsals for the Britney Spears musical. And in terms of titles, I used to be Miss California, and I worked at Disneyland. But like you said, that doesn't say who you are. Like, I'm the person who, when there's something that I want to do, really want to do, I go and I do it. And sometimes that's scary, but it's usually pretty rewarding. So when I moved to New York City, I had been asking everybody's permission, like, should I move here? Should I move to New York? Should I move to New York? And everyone was like, no. Well, guess what? If you're asking everybody around you in not New York if you should move to New York, they're going to be like, no, this place is much better, because that's what they've chosen. That's what they've chosen. And eventually one day I was like, I really want to go there. I'm done asking for permission. I bought the ticket and didn't tell anybody until it was time for me to go. And then it wasn't me asking permission. It was like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to New York. And it was the best decision I'd ever made for myself. And the week after I moved, I got a show that was in my life for like 5 years, on tour and on Broadway. I'm like, this is awesome. This would have passed me by if I had just like kept listening to what everybody else thought I should do. In other words, of like deciding to do something and doing it. Like when I was on tour, I literally took a week off from tour to run for a pageant, and I became Miss California. I decided I wanted to run a marathon. I'm not a marathon runner, but I paid my little tuition thing and I showed up and I did it. And it hurt.
Oh, I don't even want to say the words. Yeah. Hurting is saying it gentle. Yeah.
Right. Like, that was really dumb. But that is something that I am proud of myself for, is that when there's something that I really want to do, I will just do it.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that. And it is very intriguing to watch the reaction, because watch your reaction, watch other people's reactions when I start an interview like this. Because yes, we feel, for a moment, we feel naked, because not many people ask us that question. Well, who are you? I'm not interested. I congratulate you for being and having achieved all of these things, but what got us there? What trait, what character, what lessons in life that we've learned have actually gotten us to that point of achievement? And who are we without that? So thank you for sharing that so beautifully.
Yeah.
So you posted a while ago that you read a book, and it's called How to Be a Queen, about the lion that
Yeah.
was walking in the jungle and is scared
Yes.
out of its mind, or lioness. And it takes a little tiny mouse to remember, or to remind the lioness, that she is the queen of the jungle, and that queen is truly in all of us. And that really spoke to me, because aren't we all somewhere, and particular as performing artists, on that journey to rediscover our inner queen?
Yeah.
So I would love it if you could share a little bit of your experience in when you were training. I mean, Rachel and you guys went to the same school, right?
Cal State Fullerton.
And your journey to actually have the courage to step out of your what everybody else wanted you to do, to go onto Broadway, to go and achieve all of these things, be having your own shows, and being that kind of voice for women too. Like, what does that feel like, particularly when you say it can be exhausting, and I can relate to it. Like, how do you manage that? So lots of questions in
I know.
one.
I'm like, where
If
do
you get lost, don't worry. I got you.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm even starting in the right place, but like
Doesn't matter.
when I was in school with Rachel, like we were trying to get into the BFA of musical theater program. They choose like 10 students a year. And my year, they chose 12. And that was like a very, very big deal to get into that program. It was like everybody knows who the BFAs are. And that was one of the first times in my life that I was like, I know. Oh, sorry. Let me back up. I did get into the program, which was a big accomplishment. My parents were so happy and proud of me. Okay, that aside, I get into the program. I was there for a semester and was like, this is really not for me. How can it not? Like, it was like you
Whoa, wait.
work.
It wasn't for you?
Yeah. Like, I didn't, it did not resonate with me. So I got in and then was like, I'm so unhappy. I thought it was a great program. It just wasn't built for me. It wasn't. And I was like, oh gosh, I think I'm going to switch my major. And that was the first time that I was like, I feel like I'm going to be letting down a lot of people. And I did in the short term. I remember going back to school the next semester, and I was that girl walking down the hallway and people were whispering about me while I was in the hallway. I'm like, am I in a movie right now? This is so weird. Like, I can hear you guys. It's like, it's so weird. But it was the best thing that I could have done for me. I was able to graduate early and get my equity card and join the union and get a job like in acting, and as a lead, and then move to New York when I did. So in terms of that, like doing what you need to do, even if other people don't want you to do that, I feel like can be so scary. But when you are in alignment with who you are, what you need to be, like your inner guidance system tells you everything you need to know. And a lot of times it defies logic, which makes it like the easier thing to do is like to do the safer route, which is usually the route that will not bring you the most joy in the end. let me rephrase that for the positive. In the moment when you're faced with a choice and you really want to do choice A, but you know if you do choice A, you don't know what people are going to say about you, what people are going to think about you, how it's going to look on the outside, but that's really what you want to do, but you know it doesn't make any sense. Or choice B, you can do nothing or do what people are expecting of you, fit into that status quo and not ruffle feathers, and then have that, well, what if I would have feeling. Not a great feeling.
Regret is not a great feeling.
It's not a great feeling. And I watched a TikTok that was like this guy who was like totally high on drugs, but he was saying something so like profound. I'm like, wait a minute. He was like, what if when you get that feeling, that gut feeling to do something, like he's like literally like plastered right now. He's like, what if when you get that gut feeling to do something, your gut is telling you, you have to do this. What if that's your future self having regret from the future, reaching into the past, which is your present self saying, don't do this. What if that gut feeling is your future self's regret saying, don't do this instead? And I'm like, wait, what? And they're trying to beg you, follow this instead. And he said it much better than I just did, but I'm like, oh my goodness. And every single time that I have followed that gut feeling, it has never led me astray, even though in the moment it's like really scary. It always makes the most sense. And then after you've done it, everybody in your sphere is like, oh my gosh, well, of course you did that. And I'm so proud of, like, of course. It's like, wait. But in the meantime, you were not saying that. But retrospect, everyone gets it. Yeah. You have to have that courage in the present to make the hard decisions that you know are right, the right thing to do for you. I have no idea if that like touched on your question.
Beautiful, because it is remembering or being so in tune with ourselves that we have that faith that oh my gosh, word gone. The umbrella will open, not the umbrella, the
parachute.
The parachute. Oh wow, the parachute will open after you jumped. Right? Knowing that we are held and that everything is really truly always working out for us because there is something guiding us, that we have that innate power, that we are that queen of the jungle at every single point in our life. It is only a choice away in what kind of a belief we're buying into. And that's why, so perfect. Thank you for that.
Right. That whole thing about the queen of the jungle, I think it's so interesting. Like in that book that you mentioned, I forgot who wrote it, darn it. Really pretty Black girl.
Jennifer Magley.
Yes. I thought it was just so profound how like we are innately these powerful beings, and we grow up in a society that basically tries to like subtly strip us of our power. And it takes a lot of unlearning to get back to like, oh, wait. Like when you become, like we're always becoming, but like when you get to a certain point, yes, like and you're proud of that, you're like, wait, this has always been there. It just took me like taking out the crap. And sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm building confidence. Well, when I was a 7-year-old, I was the most confident person you've ever met. It wasn't until I got to my preteen and teen years when I lost all of that. Or maybe there was a bunch of junk in my way that made me not feel confident. And then when you find it again, it was always there. So this queen of the jungle, the lion, is like literally cowering through, afraid of a branch breaking, afraid of like little animals, afraid of the mouse. And the mouse is being led by like, I don't know, a hamster or something ridiculous. I forgot what the two animals are. The little mouse comes up and he's like, why are you acting like you're afraid of everything? You can eat everything out here.
Yeah.
Do you know who you are.
Right.
You don't have any mirrors. There's no mirrors out here. You can't see you, but I can see you. You're big and scary. Like, and there are, yeah, I feel like I wonder if it's intentional or unintentional. I don't want to say, I don't want to even think it's intentional, but like the way our society is built, like making us feel like we're not powerful when we are so powerful.
Okay, I love that, because not only is it the truth, it's a fact that we're in the resistance so much, because yes, it does feel scary. I was in a mastermind call not too long ago, and I was sharing my struggle, and one of the ladies turned to me and said, do you know how powerful you are? And my very first reaction was anger, because I didn't want to hear the truth, because it is easier at times to not stay in your power and to just buy into the old beliefs that you've taken on for so many decades, versus to being courageous and powerful enough to own who you are. And looking at performing arts altogether, I feel that yes, 2020 and 2021, this whole shutdown was tragic. And I think it's exactly what we needed to remember that we actually are powerful beyond means, that we're not a cause that needs money being given to at all times, but something that adds so much joy, inspiration, and knowledge to everybody out there, that it is something that people not only need, but what they actually want, because they can relate to it. And I think
Yeah.
that journey is, many companies are in denial. Many companies are angry, like I was in that very brief second. Um, Many companies are retracting back into their little snail house and saying, "Oh, we're just going to do whatever you want us to do." And then there are some companies that are actually starting to blossom and find their own voices and their own courage and vision and who they want to be in the world.
Hmm.
So, how do you feel about that statement? I'm curious.
Well, I think when you were talking about like the good things that have come out of the pandemic, I agree. Like it was and is still, like, we're not out yet, but we're getting closer. I feel, I hope, I'm holding on to hope. Um, it was really painful at the beginning,
Mm.
like growing pains. Like people are losing people are getting sick and dying. There's like a lot of devastation around. New York City looked like a apocalyptic movie. We all, like, so many people lost their jobs, their businesses, everything. So yes, like you're saying, a lot of awful things happened. But if gosh, what a big word. If you live to see the, like, get through it, a lot of people's priorities changed. My priorities changed. I can say, I can speak for myself. Like, what mattered to me before didn't really, it just changed. The order of what is the most important thing changed. When I got laid off from Broadway, I was sitting in my, what I feel like is a beautiful apartment in Manhattan that I worked my butt off to buy. And guess what? I was by myself. No family, no pets, no kids. It was just me. And months by myself. I'm like, something's not right here. I've been putting so much focus on my career. And so when my career has taken a long pause, what else do I have? It's just me in a box? Oh, no, no, no. This can't be it. This cannot be the meaning of life. This cannot be it. I'm like, okay, are things calming down a little bit? Great. I'm going to go home to Fresno, California, which one might argue I ran away from years ago and went to New York. I'm going to go home so I can see my family, even if it's just from the front yard, even if I'm just waving. Like, That is what matters to me right now. I want to see my mom and my dad and make sure they're okay. And I want to see my best friends. And I've loved being single my whole life. It has been like so fun. Sometimes it gets lonely. Sometimes it got lonely, I should say. Sometimes it was hard, but I've loved being single. People trashing on single people. I'm like, what? What? Like, we have so much freedom. This is great. But when I was in that pandemic, I was like, I wish there was somebody here to drive me crazy instead of just me going crazy
Right.
by my right. Like, it was just my mind being like, Salisha, you're about to die. No, I wasn't. I was fine. But my mind had played all these tricks on me because I'm just sitting in a room by myself for 22 hours. The other 2 hours I went on a walk and I could hear people hacking in the street and coughing and suffering. Like, when I tell you Manhattan looked apocalyptic, it truly did. I don't know what was more stressful, being home all day or going for my walk and seeing everybody like dying in front of me. It was so stressful, and I wanted more than anything. That was the first time I changed my mind and said, you know what? I am actually ready, not fake ready, like for real ready to meet my person. Like, before, it was always like a fantasy, like, oh, I hope I have an awesome husband, and like, I want to do this and this and this. But when it came down to it, I'd meet a great guy and be like, I'm not ready. I was never ready. Guess what? I was never going to be ready. And then the pandemic happened. And I was like, yeah, this ain't it. I want to make my own family. If this ever happens again, I need to make sure that when I go home, I've got my people or my person. And I feel like God was waiting on me. Because as soon as I made that declaration, I met him.
Wow.
A few months later, been like single and in open relationships my whole life. Now there's a ring on my finger from this pandemic. Like, it's a promise ring, so let me not mislead, but we fell in love like quickly. And I've dated a lot of people to know like what I want, what I don't want. And it was not a convenient relationship. He lived in Oregon. I lived in New York. And now he lives in New York. Like, I don't know. And sometimes we're together and I'm just like, what took you so long?
Well, I waited for you, darling. That's all.
Right?
Oh.
There's a lot of beauty that like has come from this time. And I don't know if I would have ever prioritized relationships if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Thank you for sharing that. Wow. That's I think I have yet to have heard that kind of a story or ability to reframe the pandemic, particularly in performing artists, that, yeah, a lot of pain and suffering and questioning and like getting really naked at days where, you questioned all of yourself. Like, am I still being that dancer, that actress, that singer, if I'm not doing that? Actually, like, what am I? And
Right.
being able to expand who you are and what you want, and understanding, well, maybe it is time now. Maybe I have now had the time to stop chasing everything that's out there, and I was ready to create something that serves my peace and my joy.
Right.
So yeah, beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
What other lesson, what other takeaway do you have from that time?
And I think we touched on this when you were on my show, the Salisha Show. I was like, what show did I have on? Yeah, you came on the Salisha Show. Is meditation. I'd never done meditation before this pandemic. my therapist was like, why don't you meditate? I'm like, Zach, come on, please. Like, what am I gonna do with that? Like, I'm just gonna sit here and breathe. Like, and part of my issue at the time was I was afraid to breathe. I was so in my head that I couldn't breathe, hearing like that was one of the symptoms. I was like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Yes, I could. I never got it. I never got COVID. It was just so in my head. I never even had the antibodies to, like, after that whole time at the beginning of the pandemic. But in my head, I had told myself, like, I totally have it. And I can't breathe. So why would I want to have a meditation? And they're just like, breathe in, breathe out. I'm like, it's stressing me out. But I stuck with it. I downloaded Calm. That was like my first meditation app. And I just was like, okay, 10 minutes a day. Just chill out. Turn down the noise. And a funny thing happens when you turn off the noise. It was literally what I was the most afraid of during the pandemic. Because like before, my screen time on my phone was like 3.5 hours on average. And during the pandemic, my screen time was 10 to 11 hours because I could not be alone. I was so scared. I was so scared. And I just needed somebody on FaceTime at all times, or somebody talking to me, or a Zoom on. I just needed somebody else to virtually be in the room with me because I was so terrified. And then the thought of turning off all the noise, is like the opposite of what I wanted. But it did it. And it brought me so much peace. Not only that, but I was able to listen to, like, I'm a pretty intuitive person. I've been a pretty intuitive person before this pandemic, before I found meditation. Now, when I turn off the noise, the things I need to know are so much clearer.
Wow.
It's like crystal clear. Sometimes it comes as a feeling. Other times it's literally like somebody whispering my ear what I need to hear, what I need to do next. It is crystal clear. And you can't hear that if you got a bunch of this all the time. So I would say that is a game changer. There are things that I know to be so true in my heart of hearts, in my deepest gut, that I found myself worrying less. I'm like, oh, I don't think I need to worry about that, because I feel it in my heart that I don't need to worry about that. Oh, I feel a heating in this area. I need to pivot over here. I don't know why, but I just feel that. Oh, I need to follow through on this, or with this, like whatever it is. It's like the message is so clear, for better, like positive, negative, whatever it is I need to do. It's so clear. And so I'm grateful for that, to learn that. It's exciting. I'm like,
oh yeah,
what happens if like I actually sit, and I was pretty consistent when I was truly in isolation. But like, what happens if I every day, at least for 15 minutes, just sit and stop thinking about everything? Turn my phone on airplane mode, put my computer screen down, and just sit. That's my only job. I don't have to make anything. I don't have to get a word or a feeling. All I got to do is just sit and clear my mind and breathe. I feel like taking just a few minutes out of the day to do that creates shortcuts to getting what you want in life.
I'm gonna drop the mic on that one. It does create shortcuts over and over and over again. Yeah. Something you can't find out there. It's only in here. That lioness, that queen, she's the only one who knows, right?
Instead of like, we think hard work is going to get us to our dreams. And sometimes it does. But when you are spinning your wheels, trying all these different things that aren't for you, you will still get to your goal if you don't give up, if you are persistent. But it can be so much faster if you just shut off the noise first and wait for not wait, but like listen for the next best move. Instead of just trying all the moves, listen to hear what comes up. What is the next best move? And the times that I do that, I'm like, it's a shortcut. I got there way faster than I was expecting to.
Wow, that brings me back to your when we first started this conversation on how you got into this acclaimed program and really quickly found out that, oh, this isn't actually for me. Had you stuck with pleasing everybody else and listening to the noise that was outside of you, rather than listening to your intuition and to what you knew was your truth, yeah, I don't know if, you probably would have not had that same trajectory that you experience right now.
Right. And you know what? It doesn't mean that you still won't get to where you are destined to be.
Yes.
It just means it might look, like you're saying, it might look different. It might take a little bit longer if you don't listen. But you'll still get there. You just could get there quicker what did I read in this last book I was reading? Probably like The Law of Attraction or something. It's like two people are running a mile, and each person on their track has 200 doors that they have to run through before they finish the mile. The person who is in alignment, all of their doors are unlocked and open. All they got to do is just go through them. They got to go through them, but they're opened, they're unlocked, they're good. The person who is not in alignment, they got to unlock it and open it. They have to stop, find a key, unlock it, open it. They will finish the mile eventually if they don't give up. But it is it's just gonna take longer. It's gonna be a little bit more tiring, tedious, frustrating. But you will get there.
Yeah, sure. I think that this belief of that success is supposed to be hard and that we have to sacrifice everything in order to, reach success and be and have acquired all of these titles. I wonder, what if it would be easy? What if we would actually allow ourselves it to be easy? Like, what would that do to us? You said you were so afraid of turning off the noise, of being alone. Like, where is that coming from? Because we're, really only always just a phone call away, and we can decide whether or not we want to be alone or not, but being afraid of being alone and not being able to just shut down and listening and understanding that voice in here is the key for every single door to be opened up.
Oh, I just had a thought. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, I was listening to you and I completely forgot what you had. Dang it, Susanne. Turning off what was I going to say?
Don't worry, we can. It may or may not come back in, and that's okay too.
Turning off.
Particularly when you're looking for it.
I know. Give me 1 second because it might come back. You talked turning off the noise. What did you say about that? Like, what happens or how? What did you ask? What was the question?
What was the question? What if it would be easy?
What if it would be easy?
Yeah. To be successful without all of the stress and noise and outside declaration and how it needs to look.
I think, like sometimes.
Isn't that where we fall prey to, where we turn off where we're getting addicted to the noise outside of us.
Oh, yes. I remember what I was going to say.
Okay,
It reminded me of like, so I worked at Disneyland and I live in New York City. A lot of stimulation. Times Square is ridiculous. Disneyland is ridiculous. These places, like, I am a big city girl. I just love like being around a lot of things, a lot of people, a lot of places to go, see, do, whatever. And there is like, I don't know, it feels exciting. Like when we started this interview, this talk, this podcast today, you're like, who are you? Is that immediate? And you talked about feeling naked. Like, I'm like, where do I start? Well, I guess I'm fun. Like, like it's that naked feeling. But if you get comfortable with the uncomfortable, it's very freeing. Whatever that is, turning off the noise. If you learn that things could be easy if we allow it to be, there are things in my life that come so easy to me, and there are things in my life that I have made so hard. And Andrew, for an example, even though I've already talked about Andrew, my significant other, finding love has felt so hard. And then the moment I just decided, and this is not a one size fits all. This is just this experience in my life and how it played out for me. But for me, it was like the moment I decided for real what I wanted and stated out loud to God that I was ready. He just came waltzing in out of nowhere. And if I were to lay out all the things in our relationship, anybody else would be like, that seems kind of fast. That seems kind of fast. Well, I'm in it and he's in it. And both of us are like, doesn't feel fast though. It just feels right. He's like, feels like alignment to me. I'm like, me too. But on the outside, it could look really fast. But when it's right, when you allow, things can be easy. I am so used to making things hard. And part of the ways that I think we make things hard is we might have blessings coming at us faster than we can even realize or even like see, but we might be pushing it away without knowing that we're doing that. Energetically doubting ourselves, telling people, no, I don't deserve that. I'm not worthy. So easy for me to do that, being like, no, I'm not a star. Yes, I am.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, thank you. Good girl.
Yes, I am. And when it's funny, the opportunities that come to me when I'm like, yes, I am. And it's funny, all the rejections that I get when I am verbally doubting myself. It's really pushing your blessings away.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, no, I fully agree because we're in the way. We're the only person that is in the way from what we want.
In the way.
Yeah. Get out of the way, Salisha.
Get out of the way. Yeah. What happens if we just get out of the way? Same thing on stage. Like those actors on stage, they are regular people who put their jeans on one leg at a time. They got to go to the bathrooms like everybody else. But the special ones, the ones who are really good at their jobs, they get on stage and they get out of the way.
They drown out the noise. They turn off their phone. They turn off the computer. They turn off whoever's sitting in the audience.
They get themselves out of the way and allow the character to breathe through them. When you're so worried about what you look like, what you sound like, all these things, you're in the way. That's a very surface level like comment about that, but it is much deeper than that. But like the moral is we're in the way. I'm in the way, I think.
I don't think it's surface level, Salisha. I think it's the easiest and most understandable and visual kind of way we can describe that kind of energy that is holding us back from really becoming who we're meant to be, right? And who we want to be. It's get out of your way. Just get out of the way. Because the more complicated we're making it, the harder for us it will become to actually take action on it. At least that's for me. I'm just, I like to complicate things, and when I'm in that state, I know I'm just fighting. I'm just gripping onto some old beliefs. So I really am working on simplifying whatever belief is really truly holding me back from where I want to be. So yeah, get out of the way. Yeah.
I love that.
I have one last question for you.
Hmm.
With everything that you've learned so far, and let's assume your 16-year-old self will sit still for, a few minutes and actually listen to you without throwing a tantrum, what would you tell her?
My 16-year-old self. Gosh. The first thing that comes to mind, because who I was at 16 is very different than who I am today. Very different than who I am today on so many levels. But to simplify it to her, I'd say, know two things. You're the bomb, but also be humble.
Okay.
You're the bomb.
Awesome.
But like, be humble.
Thank you, honey. That filled my cup today. Thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably and so open. I know personally that it's not easy to stand naked in front of somebody else, and not literally, but we were stripped. I stripped you from the get-go. I was like, yeah, doesn't matter. But you went with it and you so beautifully shared, and it's not easy, and it is giving everybody else the permission to just show up that way, that beautifully, authentically themselves, because really truly there is that lioness, that lion in all of us. We just need to get out of the way and unleash her.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, it would mean the world to us. It actually does mean the world to us if you tag us on Instagram and share your biggest takeaway from this episode. And we are sending you so much love. Till soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.